Did you know that over 1,500 souls were lost when the Titanic sank on that cold April night in 1912? That's nearly 2/3 of the people on board. But even more shocking is the fact that the so-called unsinkable ship had warnings hours before the disaster. So why did no one act? In today's video, we'll uncover the truth behind the Titanic's tragic end, the secrets that have remained hidden for over a century, and the mysteries that still surround this legendary disaster. The Titanic was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of human ambition and engineering prowess. When it was built, people believed it was the pinnacle of technology. In fact, many newspapers of the time labeled it unsinkable. But where did this confidence come from? The ship's designers had installed 16 watertight compartments that could be sealed off in case of flooding. These compartments led the White Star Line to market the ship as practically indestructible. But there was a critical flaw. If more than 4 compartments were breached, the ship would still sink. Tragically, when the iceberg hit, 6 compartments were compromised. The unsinkable label wasn't just optimism, it was overconfidence. And that overconfidence cost lives. April 14, 1912, a calm, moonless night. The Titanic steamed through the icy waters of the North Atlantic at nearly full speed, 22.5 knots. But just before midnight, disaster struck. The lookout, Frederick Fleet, spotted the iceberg too late. Why? Despite receiving multiple iceberg warnings earlier that day, the Titanic's crew continued at near maximum speed. Many experts believe this was a fatal mistake. Captain Edward Smith wanted to make headlines by arriving in New York early, a decision that put over 2,000 lives at risk. When the iceberg struck, it wasn't a head-on collision. Instead, the iceberg scraped along the side of the ship, tearing open a series of small holes in the hull. But here's the question. Could the Titanic have survived if it hit the iceberg straight on? Many naval experts say yes. A direct collision might have damaged only a few compartments, keeping the ship afloat. A fateful decision indeed. As the Titanic began sinking, another tragedy became clear. There were not enough lifeboats. The ship was designed to carry 64 lifeboats, but only 20 were on board. That's enough for just over half of the passengers. Why didn't they have enough? The White Star Line believed that lifeboats cluttered the deck and would detract from the ship's luxury. Worse still, many of the lifeboats that were launched were less than half full. Some left with only 12 people, despite having a capacity of 65. Had the lifeboats been properly filled, hundreds more could have been saved. This glaring failure is one of the most heartbreaking aspects of the Titanic disaster. Captain Edward Smith was one of the most respected captains of his time, with a career spanning over 40 years. So why did he make such questionable decisions during the Titanic's maiden voyage? Why did he ignore repeated iceberg warnings? Smith had been warned at least 6 times on the day of the disaster, yet the ship continued at nearly full speed. Some argue that he trusted too much in the ship's design. Others believe he was under pressure from White Star Line to make a record-breaking voyage. Either way, Smith's decisions played a crucial role in the tragedy that in the final hours, Smith went down with his ship, becoming a tragic figure in maritime history. One of the most puzzling aspects of the Titanic disaster is the role of the SS Californian, a ship that was reportedly just 10 miles away when the Titanic sank. The Californian's crew saw distress flares in the sky, but did nothing. Why? Captain Stanley Lord of the Californian later claimed he didn't realize the Titanic was in trouble. But could the Californian have reached the Titanic in time to save lives? Many survivors believe they saw the lights of a nearby ship that never came to help. To this day, the true reason for the Californian's inaction remains a mystery. What is certain is that had the Californian responded, hundreds more could have been saved. The Titanic was more than a ship. It was a floating symbol of society's class divide. The wealthy sailed in luxury in first-class suites, while third-class passengers lived in cramped quarters below deck. This divide became even more pronounced during the disaster. Of the 1,500 people who died, the majority were third-class passengers. Why? Locked gates and language barriers prevented many from reaching the lifeboats in time. Survival rates were heavily skewed. 62% of first-class passengers survived, while only 25% of third-class passengers did. It's a sobering reminder of the inequality that played out even in the face of disaster. Despite all we know, there are still many unanswered questions about the Titanic. Some believe the ship was doomed before it even set sail. A fire in one of the coal bunkers had been burning for days before the iceberg collision, weakening the ship's structure. Others suggest a more sinister theory, that the Titanic was not the ship that sank at all. Could it have been switched with its sister ship, the Olympic, in an insurance scam gone terribly wrong? While these theories remain unproven, they continue to captivate those fascinated by the Titanic's fate. It wasn't until 1985, over 70 years after the sinking, that the wreck of the Titanic was finally discovered by Dr. Robert Ballard. The haunting images of the ship lying 12,500 feet beneath the ocean's surface shocked the world. Since then, numerous expeditions have explored the wreck, uncovering new details about the ship's final moments. Yet, even after all these years, the Titanic continues to hold on to its secrets. The Titanic's sinking remains one of the most tragic and mysterious events in history. Over a century later, we still ask, could it have been prevented? Were lives lost because of human error or fate? What do you think? Could something have been done to save more lives? Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries.